Hi class, we are going through Unit 3 today, Soul and Motown. And so just so you know, Motown is a type of soul music, but we go over Motown very specifically because it was super significant to this genre and to the time period. So we're going to be looking over how the soul music compared to different styles and how did it impact social movements and just the overall evolution of soul music. So soul started with an influence of gospel, doo-wop, rock. And when we were talking about jazz and blues and all that, we were talking about how everything is kind of influenced by each other. Same thing from soul, took a little bit of everything, create a new genre. In its infancy, it was used as a way of protest. 1960s, we get the civil rights movement. We're dealing with Vietnam. And so it was used as a way to give voice to the people. And it was usually performed by African Americans, not always, but more often than not it was. And it often embraced these themes of pain, pride, passion, love, hope, despair, all these things that helped to influence the civil rights movement. And it really helped to instill pride in young African Americans. And the way that singers portrayed and performed, they tried to elevate themselves and be a source of pride for people who could resonate with the performers and their ideas. So some examples, we get Aretha Franklin, who's saying to be young, gifted, and Black. We get James Brown, who were saying, say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud. So those ideas of I'm proud to be who I am and I deserve to be here. So answer this question for me. Is this statement true or false? Soul captured the key elements of pain, pride, passion, love, hope, and despair. True or false? Different styles of soul music. So just like everybody had a different style of jazz, different style of blues, same thing with soul. Everybody had their own take on this genre. So soul is this combination of gospel, rhythm and blues, rock. And in the South, we get more simple arrangements. We'll get a horn section with a strong rhythm section, really staccato guitar, some drums, and that was kind of the Southern style. And then we get to Detroit. Now think of Detroit. Detroit's a manufacturing city. It's this very concentrated hub of people. And this is where we get Motown Records. And Mr. Berry Gordy Jr. brought in the assembly line concept from building cars and car manufacturing, and he applied it to Motown Records and making soul music. Then in Philadelphia, once again, another very highly concentrated hub of people. In Philadelphia, we get this lush orchestration. So there's more people, so we can have more orchestration, more instruments, and more things happening in our sound. Important people to know, we get Mr. Ray Charles. He was a blind singer. He was not blind from birth. He had a disease in his childhood that affected his vision, but he was an amazing piano player, absolutely brilliant piano player. And he liked to combine his gospel roots with some more secular styles to create his own version of soul music. So when you listen to his music, you kind of feel that gospel, like I gotta dance with this and sing with this kind of style. And then he added some more secular themes to it and some secular styles. We get Sam Cooke. He is one of the most imitated soul musicians of all time. Music is amazing. He's just awesome. And we get Miss Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, and when she was writing in her music and performing, she really wanted to resonate and connect with women, especially their emotional needs and just the differences of being a woman in that time period of the 60s. She earned 15 Grammys, and she is the first woman in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not the first African woman, or not the first African-American woman. She's the first woman to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She's awesome. Then we get Isaac Hayes. He taught himself how to play piano and organ and saxophone. So organ was used a lot in soul music, and we get the Hammond organ, and it's just a different way of playing, and it really helped to kind of create that baseline. He was the first African American to win an Academy Award. Gladys Knight, she influenced a lot of contemporary artists, and her style is still imitated a lot today. We get George Clinton. He became the father of funk, and he really set that standard on what funk music should be. He was very theatrical, crazy costumes, crazy sets. His style was very out there. And when you think of funk music, this is who you think of. 60s and 70s, this is a very angry time. Think about it, civil rights movement. People are angry. They're angry because they're not being treated as humans. They're angry. So the music is, in response, angry because they're angry that they have to fight for basic human rights. And so we're dealing with these feeling of promises of the civil rights movement that were unfulfilled. So we're promised that we're going to be treated equally, but we're still not being treated equally. People are still not being treated equally today, and there's still that tension there. So some people that came from this, and we get Earth, Wind, and Fire that blended some Memphis and Chicago jazz styles and really had that powerful horn section. And their goal was to elevate consciousness in the community. So to kind of take these ideas that we're here, we're proud to be us, and really elevate their communities. Curtis Mayfield engaged in the Black Arts movement, and it was an advance in social improvements within the African American community, and very engaged in social commentary in his music. And once again, trying to go to the community and elevate them and lift them up and show them what they could be. We get Sly and the Family Stone, and this group really embraced integration. That's the picture on the screen. This is that band, and they included men and women, which was extremely uncommon. And it wasn't just African Americans, it was African Americans and Caucasians and everybody coming together to create this sense of inclusivity that we're together and we're humans and we're going to be together. So tell me, give me like one sentence, how was the civil rights movement impacted by soul music? Just like one sentence, maybe two. Motown records. When people think soul music, they're probably thinking of music that came from Motown records. It was founded by Mr. Berry Gordy Jr., and he created this in Detroit, Michigan. It was originally Tama Records, changed to Motown Records in 1959. He originally worked in a car factory, and I mentioned this previously. And so he really was engulfed in this experience of the manufacturing assembly line process. This one person is in charge of windows. This person is in charge of doors. This person's in charge of headlights. This person's in charge of taillight. This person's in charge of tires. And he took that idea, that concept of everybody's departmentalized into Motown Records. So he had a formula. He had a lead singer with background singers. So if you look at all his groups, there's like a lead singer and some background singers. And he used this platform to promote African American artists. He used easy to remember melodies. He had somebody churning out songs, a team, that's what they did. And they were all easy to remember melodies. And the goal was to appeal not just to African Americans, but also Caucasians, because he wanted this to be enjoyable for everybody. I think we're talking about the civil rights movement. We want everybody to be integrated and included. So he wanted a style that would appeal to everybody. Motown, short for Motor Town, we're in Detroit, car manufacturing, all that goodness. And the Funk Brothers were their house band. So it wasn't like each group had their own band. There'd be probably 4 or 5 singers, and the Funk Brothers more than likely played for them. It was part of about 4/5 of all the music that they created as a company. Now, when they toured, the Funk Brothers probably weren't touring because they were the house band. They stayed at the records, and that's who was on the record. Artists were promoted by sending press releases to personality magazines. So think today, the magazines that you see in the grocery store that are like, look at this celebrity. He would send press releases to them to promote their music. So tell me, who founded Motown Records? Diana Ross, Stevie Wonder, or Berry Gordy Jr.? So some more on Motown. This is the 1960s. We've got the Vietnam War, Civil Rights Act happening. A lot of trying to prevent discrimination. And we get Marvin Gaye with his album, What's Going On? And this was from the viewpoint of a Vietnam veteran who had come home from war. And it included ideas of abuse, poverty, crime, war, things that weren't typically talked about in music. But remember, all the music from this time period, the idea is to bring awareness and to show people what African Americans were experiencing. And in this case, not just African Americans, but African American veterans, what they were experiencing. Other thing that was occurring during this time period that Motown came up with was the Motown Charm School. And they would take their singers. Remember, they were going through a formula, we're shuffling through this assembly line. Part of that was going to the Charm School. And the idea was that they were going to promote culture, class, and dignity. So they taught them how to engage with the public. They wanted to portray people who were classy and sophisticated and all these things that are deemed as good by Mr. Berry Gordy Jr. Because remember, we're trying to promote integration and we're trying to promote acceptance by everybody. So the idea was we're going to fit this perfect mold and perfect standard so that we can be accepted. And they taught etiquette, choreography, stage presence. Remember, the music is supposed to appeal to everybody, not just one specific group of people. So he wanted their behavior to reflect that as well. Once again, the idea was to lift up African Americans. There's a lot of negative stereotypes of African Americans, and the idea was to kind of remove them from that. So tell me, which artist produced the album What's Going On, which impacted social awareness in a monumental way? Was it Marvin Gaye, James Brown, or Aretha Franklin? Some hits of Motown. Please go listen to these. Go to YouTube, just search some of these people. Please listen to them. It's amazing. We get the Temptations. We get James Jamerson, Stevie Wonder, Smokey Robinson, Diana Ross and the Supremes. Please just go look at these. This is a lovely list of some of the things that they've written. Screenshot this. If you want the PowerPoint or the list, email me, but just seriously go to YouTube and search Motown. Just listen to all the music. It's amazing. I've had students say this to me before when listening to Motown. They're like, oh, this is the music I hear in the grocery store when I'm shopping. Yeah, and you know why? Because it appeals to everybody. It's unoffensive. It's common themes, and it's easy to remember. So a lot of grocery stores will play this because of that. So, random thought. So tell me, true or false, the key to Motown's success was that its songs by African-American artists appealed to audiences with many different ethnic backgrounds. True or false? All right, that's the end of this Unit 3 video. Remember, you should still come to class. This does not replace what we do in class. In class, we get a more in-depth understanding. Please, I hope you've watched this video before taking the quiz to help you on it. The questions that I put in these videos, if you haven't noticed yet, they are straight from the quiz. So just so you know, if you need help on absolutely anything, please, please, please call me or email me. You can find my phone number and email in the course. Please contact me if you need help. That's what I'm here for. Have a fabulous rest of your day, guys, and I will see you in class.